Some people don't fear getting caught. They fear getting exposed by the one they underestimated. You were silent, calm, collected, while they were running their mouth, playing their little mind games, smirking like they had the upper hand. You sat back and watched, like a storm in disguise. Now, that calm has them terrified. Not because you threatened them, not because you raised your voice, but because they finally sensed what's coming. That chilling stillness before the universe makes its move. That moment where everything they did behind your back starts echoing louder than their fake smiles. You want to know what real fear looks like? It's not someone screaming for help. It's someone looking over their shoulder when they're alone. It's the way their chest tightens when they hear your name. It's biology, too. Studies show that chronic fear weakens the immune system, damages memory, and creates hallucinations. That's right. Their guilt is eating them alive so bad that now their mind is doing the punishing for you. You don't have to do anything. Just exist. Just rise. That's the revenge. And thank you, Chosen One. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing like and subscribe to help spread this message to more souls. It's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. And thank you again, Chosen One, for being part of this mission. You're not just healing. You are part of a force. Now let's get back to why they're shaking like they just saw a ghost. You see, this is what happens when someone mistakes your peace for passiveness, when someone confuses your silence for softness. What they didn't realize is you've evolved. You're not who you used to be. You've leveled up in a way that words can't even describe. Your aura, your presence, your mindset. It's all different now, and they feel it. The fear they feel isn't random. It's their own actions coming back like a shadow that won't leave them alone. They laughed when you were down, tried to humiliate you, tried to reduce you to a joke in a room full of cowards. But what they didn't know is that the same person they humiliated is now the name they dare not mention. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to expose them. The fear in their chest is the exposure, the paranoia. That's your presence haunting their conscience. And no, this isn't just karma. That word is too soft for what's happening here. This is justice from the universe, cold, calculated, and precise. See, the universe doesn't forget. It watches, records, waits. And when it sees someone cross a chosen one, it doesn't just balance the scales, it flips the whole damn system upside down. They thought they hurt you and walked away clean. But now their peace is poisoned. Every win they thought they had now feels fake, tainted, temporary. And here's the funny part. They'll never admit it. They'll act unbothered, still post online, still walk around like they're untouchable. But behind the mask, they're sweating, losing sleep, asking questions like, what if they come back stronger? What if the universe really is on their side? And the truth is, it is. You're protected. You're guided. Not by luck, but by design. Your pain didn't break you. It activated something dangerous. Let me remind you, you're not intimidating because you're loud. You're intimidating because your silence carries answers they don't want to hear. You're intimidating because you didn't fold when they tried to break you. That scares them more than anything. People like that can't handle real power. And real power doesn't always show up in flashy ways. Sometimes it shows up in quiet resilience, in healed wounds, in unbothered energy that can't be copied or manipulated. Now let's talk about what's coming, why they're scared of it, why they're trying to stay ahead of it, but can't. Because what's coming isn't a revenge plot, it's a shift. a shift in how the world sees you, a shift in how opportunities flow toward you, a shift in how truth rises without you needing to force it. They were hoping you'd retaliate like your old self, but you didn't. And that's exactly what terrifies them. You're becoming untouchable, unreachable. And when people like that can't reach you anymore, they panic. Fear, at its core, is a loss of control, and they lost all control the moment they couldn't predict you anymore. That's what this whole thing is about. Control. They played games thinking you'd react. You didn't. Now they're left with silence, and silence is where guilt grows, like mold in the dark. Now, every room they walk into, they wonder if someone knows the truth, if someone sees through their act. They're not running from you. They're running from what the universe has already decided. Their time is up. That's what's got them shaking. That's why they're scared, and that's why they'll never try you again. Not because you're dangerous, but because what's protecting you is. So next time you sense that shift, next time you see their energy switch up, just smile. You don't need revenge. You became the consequence. And hey, chosen one, if you've made it this far, it's because deep down, you know this message is yours. You can feel it. Someone out there is already panicking over the shift in your energy, and what's coming next has their entire spirit trembling. So don't tap out now. Stay locked in. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you're ready to let your silence shake the room louder than their lies ever could. And if this message hit home, bless the creators behind this truth with a super thanks. It keeps the fire lit and the mission alive. Doesn't matter if it's $1 or a dime, your energy fuels the storm they never saw coming. And now, let's go deeper, step by step. And believe me, if you're truly built for this, you won't be able to look away. Let's begin. Number 1, they're not afraid of you. They're afraid of what you unleash. It's not your power that scares them. It's the fact that their mask slips every time you walk in the room. Let's call it what it is. They're not scared of your fists, your voice, or even your anger. What truly rattles them is what you activate inside them. You don't walk in like a threat. You walk in like the truth. And that's a nightmare for people who've built their whole existence on lies. You're not just a person to them. You're a walking undoing of their entire illusion. You don't need to expose them. Just breathing in the same room does it for you. Your name alone hits like a glitch in their system. When they see your face, it's like standing in front of a cracked mirror. Every flaw they tried to hide starts bleeding through. They tried to bury their guilt, their shame, their manipulation, but your presence digs it all back up. And here's the kicker. You didn't even try. That's what makes it worse. You're not fighting them. You're just being, and that alone wrecks them from the inside out. You're the consequence they never saw coming. You remind them of everything they tried to forget. And now, you're the ghost that doesn't leave, the echo in every silent room, the reminder in every mirror. They thought you'd break, and instead, you became a walking receipt for their betrayal. They can't play victim anymore because you didn't react the way they hoped. You didn't beg. You didn't explode. You leveled up. And now they're stuck choking on the silence you left behind. You don't need to prove anything. Your growth is the proof. Every win, every step forward, every ounce of peace on your face is a slap to their pride. That's why they avoid you, but still watch everything you do. That's why they pretend to be unbothered, but flinch when someone brings up your name, because deep down they know you saw them for who they are. And once a chosen one sees through you, there's no going back. See, manipulators thrive in fog. Confusion is their weapon. But when someone like you shows up, clear-eyed, focused, no longer emotionally available for their games. It's like the lights come on, and they're caught red-handed. You robbed them of the one thing they worship: control. And when they can't control you, they start losing control of themselves. And here's the part they'll never admit out loud. They wish they could be you, not for your success, not for your image, but for your peace. Because while they're out there lying to keep up appearances, you're out here healing, rising, transforming. That kind of energy is rare, and it's lethal to someone who thrives off destruction. They can't understand how you survived what they threw at you, and that confuses them. It bothers them. It haunts them. So when you ask, why are they acting weird around me? Why are they keeping their distance? This is why. You pulled the curtain back. You shattered the illusion. You became everything they're pretending to be. And that reflection, it burns. You didn't just walk away. You became the version of yourself that their lies could never kill. Let them shake. Let them sweat. Let them feel the pressure they created. You didn't start this war, but your glow is ending it. Your silence is their sentence, and your rise is the reminder they'll never outrun. Number 2. They thought you were just skin and bone, but you moved like a whole law being enforced. They played with a person. What they didn't realize is they were violating a principle, and now the universe is billing them interest on every move. They thought you were breakable, touchable, replaceable, just another name they could toss into the dirt when it suited them. But they were dead wrong. You weren't just a person. You were an enforcement, a walking, breathing law of balance. And when they crossed you, they didn't just disrespect you. They violated the very order that holds this universe together. And guess what happens when someone thinks they're above the law? The law doesn't argue. It doesn't warn. It strikes. Imagine trying to slap the wind and thinking you won. Imagine pouring poison into a river, then being shocked when your own crops start dying. That's what it's like when someone tries to play you and thinks it won't echo back. They thought they were hurting you, but they were just writing their own sentence, and now the consequences are rolling in like thunder. See, people like that are always looking for a reaction. They poke, they provoke, they gaslight, hoping you'll lose it, hoping you'll stoop low so they can call you crazy or too emotional. But when you didn't react, when you didn't break, when you walked away instead of exploding, that's when they felt it. That chill, that weight, that pressure they couldn't explain, because they were expecting a fight. But instead, they triggered something far scarier: correction. You didn't clap back. The universe did. Let that sink in. You didn't have to raise your voice. You didn't have to expose anyone. You didn't even wish them harm. And still, their world started folding in on itself. Why? Because you're not protected by coincidence. You're protected by order. You're aligned. Your footsteps echo with intention. And when someone tries to knock down a person who's walking in purpose, the blow doesn't just bounce, it reverses. So if you're wondering, why are they acting so scared now? Here's your answer. They finally realized they weren't dealing with just a human being. They were dealing with a force of nature, a spiritual correction, an energetic boomerang that doesn't miss. Imagine lighting a match in a gas-filled room and then acting surprised when everything explodes. That's them. They lit the fire. They opened the door. And now they're trying to escape the very smoke they created. But there's no escape when you've tampered with universal law. There's no apology big enough, no excuse smooth enough. You don't get to disrespect the truth and expect peace. They thought they were playing chess, but they were actually playing with gravity, and gravity never loses. And this is where your power really shows, not in revenge, not in shouting, but in presence, in the way you carry yourself like you know something bigger is moving for you, in the way you don't argue with people who already buried themselves, in the way you don't flinch when liars try to rewrite history, because you don't have to. You're not unpredictable. You're unreadable. And that's what terrifies them. They don't know if you'll forgive or forget. They don't know how much you've seen. They don't know what the universe has planned next. All they do know is that their peace hasn't been the same since they tried you, and it never will be. And let's clear this up. Your peace isn't luck. Your protection isn't random. That's stillness in your spirit. That's alignment. That's power. That's proof that you're in sync with something way bigger than you, and way more dangerous than anything they could have imagined. That's why you don't chase. That's why you don't respond. Because your energy is being handled by forces that don't need your permission to strike. People think law's loud, sirens, courtrooms, chaos. But real law, real universal law, it's quiet, subtle. It watches, waits, then rearranges everything without warning. One day the manipulators wake up and nothing works. Doors start closing, friends start turning, money dries up, their own lies start suffocating them. That's not bad luck. That's not coincidence. That's correction. You didn't fight dirty. You just moved clean, and that alone ruined their whole plan. So don't second-guess the silence. Don't question why you feel calm while they spiral. That's how you know you're protected. That's how you know you're not operating on emotion anymore. You're moving with law, with order, with purpose. And people who thrive in chaos will always fear someone who walks in peace. They'll never say it out loud, but they envy how untouchable you've become. They hate that you don't need them, that you're not seeking revenge, that you're not dragging their name through the mud like they did yours. Because deep down, they know you're better, you're above it, and that burns. Now let's get brutally honest. They won't try you again, not because they've changed, not because they're sorry, but because they're scared. Scared of what you awaken, scared of what you know, scared of what's protecting you, and scared of what'll happen if they cross the line again. You're not just flesh, you're not just words, you're alignment, your consequence, your proof that messing with the wrong soul comes with a price. And the bill always shows up with interest. So let them keep watching from the sidelines. Let them wonder how you're still glowing. Let them whisper in circles about what you might do next. But you, keep moving like law, silent, powerful, unstoppable. Because when you walk with truth, the universe walks with you, and no enemy survives that kind of justice. Number 3, the script's flipped, and they can't rewrite it now. They wrote the story with you as the fool, but forgot you'd survive long enough to narrate the truth. Control is their oxygen. Manipulators don't thrive on facts. They survive off false narratives. They smear, twist, edit, and retell reality to keep their mask in place. But here's the twist they never saw coming. You kept going, you kept rising, you kept building, and now everything about your life is wrecking their version of events. You didn't expose them with words, you exposed them with results. They said you'd fall apart, but you didn't. They told everyone you were unstable, but you're more grounded than ever. Every smile on your face is a contradiction to their script. Every win you stack is a plot twist they can't erase. You don't need to speak. You exist, and that's enough to ruin their show. Imagine trying to control a fire you secretly started. Now it's burning through their costume, and the audience is catching on. They're scared, not because you're dangerous, but because you've become undeniable. You're not the villain they tried to paint. You're the proof that they lied. The story is slipping out of their hands, and the more they talk, the more they expose themselves. Every whisper they spread gets buried under your silence. Because you're not defending, you're evolving. Lies run fast, but the truth doesn't get tired. What they never expected was the expiration date. See, deception has a shelf life, but truth ages like stone. It sits there, it waits. And when the mask starts to rot, the truth doesn't even have to move. It's just seen. That's what's haunting them now. The slow unraveling, the panicked paranoia, the fear that people are finally connecting the dots. And they are. You don't have to fight for clarity. You are the clarity. You didn't just take back the story. You became the story. And now they can't touch it. Not anymore. Not ever again. Number 4. You became the lesson. They can't unlearn. They mocked the chalkboard until life made them take notes in blood. They didn't come to learn, they came to play. But life has a way of turning arrogance into a classroom. And guess who's standing at the front now? You. Not because you wanted to teach them, but because every backstab, every lie, every smear campaign they launched became the curriculum. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't need to. Your silence, that was the lecture. Your growth, that was the test. And now, they're failing every subject with flying colors. See, the universe doesn't hand out diplomas for manipulation. It hands out reality checks, and they're cashing in on everyone they tried to dodge. Imagine trying to sabotage someone's ladder, only to find out they're above you. And now, you're stuck at the bottom, forced to watch. That's the lesson they never wanted. You survived them. And that survival rewired their entire world. They didn't want a mentor, but every mistake they made around you became a mirror. Now they flinch at their own reflection, because every move you make is a reminder of the consequences they earned. You didn't seek revenge, but your peace is punishing. You didn't insult them, but your presence is correcting. Every time they remember how they treated you, life throws them another pop quiz they can't cheat their way through. Respect was never yours to beg for, it was theirs to lose. And now that it's gone, they're learning the hard way that some people are untouchable, not because of ego, but because of alignment. You're not chasing validation, you're grading their paper in silence. And the results? F for fake, F for failure, F for fear. You are now the lesson they didn't ask for, but the one they'll never forget. Number 5, they fear the math they can't solve. You carry consequences beyond calculation. They can predict chaos, but they can't predict you, and that's why they lose sleep. People like them need patterns. They survive by measuring reactions, anticipating weakness, and scripting outcomes. But you broke the formula. You stopped being predictable the moment you stopped caring what they think. Now, their biggest fear isn't what you'll do. It's what might happen simply because they crossed you. They can't quantify it. They can't chart it. They can't even name it. All they know is that every time they move wrong toward you, something or someone moves against them. Imagine tossing a stone in a calm lake and realizing the ripples never stop. That's what your energy does. The moment they tried to sabotage you, they activated a cause and effect loop that doesn't play by their logic. They thought consequences were optional. They forgot that the universe collects debt in unpredictable ways. Sometimes the payback is a failed plan. Sometimes it's the sudden silence of people who used to enable them. Sometimes it's the slow collapse of their own confidence. They don't fear punishment, they fear unpredictability. Enemies thrive on control. But how do you fight someone who doesn't react the same way twice? How do you target a person who walks with quiet timing that feels orchestrated? You terrify them not because you're violent, but because your protection makes no sense to them. Things start happening, random delays, sudden failures, eerie coincidences, and deep down, they know it's not random at all. They can't tell whether it's karma, timing, or just life correcting itself. But it always circles back to you. Imagine this. They're sitting confidently, bragging about how they won, and then life delivers a consequence out of nowhere, a loss, a betrayal, an exposure they never expected. That's what keeps them pacing at night. The fear that their own actions are now boomerangs, flying back in ways they can't dodge. You don't even have to lift a finger. Your silence has already started the chain reaction. The most dangerous weapon is not rage, it's restraint. You're the storm that doesn't need thunder to be felt. You carry a kind of order that punishes disrespect without warning. They can't calculate when it hits, and that's what breaks them, because when fear has no schedule, it becomes obsession. They replay every wrong move, every cruel word, wondering which one the universe is charging interest on. And that's your real power. You move with mystery. Your energy rewrites the odds, bends the timing, and enforces consequences that can't be predicted, only endured. They once thought you were human error. Now they know you're universal correction. Number 6. They just realized you were never in the same arena. You were operating on another level. They were playing tag and didn't realize you were holding the rulebook the whole time. They thought you were one of them, caught in the drama, chasing attention, moving out of desperation. But you weren't even playing. You weren't competing. You were watching, listening, studying. While they played checkers, you were assembling the chessboard. That's why they're panicking now, because all the moves they made, thinking they were ahead, are the same moves that wrote their downfall. You didn't respond, and that silence exposed everything. They thought your stillness was weakness, that your lack of reaction meant defeat. But still, waters run deep, and what they mistook for surrender was actually strategy. You didn't yell, you didn't clap back, you just kept building, kept evolving, kept mastering the one thing they never could, yourself. And now, everything they once used to mock you is backfiring. Every fake story is crumbling, every smear tactic is falling apart under its own weight. They weren't competing with you, they were being studied by you. They never realized the danger wasn't your words, it was your pattern recognition. While they were loud, you were calculating. While they tried to flex their illusion of power, you were learning how to dismantle it from the inside out. They thought they were hunters, but they walked straight into their own trap, because they never noticed. You were never chasing their validation. You were outgrowing the entire battlefield. Imagine being so busy laughing at someone's silence, you don't realize they've outbuilt you, outclassed you, and outlasted you. That's where they are now, watching from a distance as everything you planted in silence starts to bloom in public. And the worst part, there's no way to stop it. You rewrote the rules, and now the old game doesn't even exist. You weren't trying to win their game. You were designing a reality where their tactics don't even apply. They finally see it. You were never their rival. You were the reminder that real power doesn't perform. It evolves. And now they're stuck in the dust of a game that no longer matters. because you were never playing, you were positioning. Number 7. They're panicking because the power cord's been cut. You're no longer reachable. They didn't fear losing you. They feared losing access to you, and now that the plug's been pulled, their ego can't breathe. Let's make one thing clear. They never valued you. They valued what they could drain from you, your emotions, your attention, your reactions. That was their power source. They fed off your energy like parasites disguised as partners. But now, the faucet is dry, the door is locked, the bridge has collapsed, and they're left banging on a wall that doesn't echo back. You didn't need revenge, you just disappeared. And that silence, it's screaming louder than any argument ever could. See, they were addicted to the high of controlling your state, pressing buttons, then watching you unravel. But you've grown past that. You don't react anymore. You don't explain anymore. You don't need them to understand. And that shift, that calm distance, it's got them unraveling now. You weren't their loss, you were their supply. And now the line's been cut. Imagine trying to play a puppet with no strings left. That's what your absence feels like to them. They can't provoke you, can't bait you, can't drain you, and that makes them spiral, because their illusion of control was never about love or connection. It was about keeping you emotionally available to feed their ego. Without access, they feel powerless, and when people like that feel powerless, they panic. They might act unbothered, pretend like you were never that important, but watch their behavior, the stalking, the subtle jabs, the indirect posts. That's not peace, that's panic, that's a toxic soul suffocating from a lack of control. Because your distance is a mirror now, one they can't look away from, one that reflects the truth. They were never needed. You were always the light. They were just standing too close. Your silence is no longer empty, it's powerful. You turned the volume down on chaos, you walked away from noise, and now they're screaming into the void, hoping you'll come back just so they can feel something again. But you're gone, not because you hate them, because you've evolved past the point of being reachable by low frequencies. Number 8, their image is drowning in the truth you became. You didn't ruin their name, you just lived long enough to become undeniable. They thought they could define you, box you in, bury you under lies, twist the narrative, and walk away crowned as the hero. But there's one problem with building a reputation on fiction. It collapses the moment reality walks into the room. And guess who reality showed up wearing? You. You didn't fight back with insults. You didn't run around defending yourself. You just rose. You kept showing up, kept leveling up. And with every step you took forward, their version of the story started rotting from the inside out. Now, everything they said about you sounds hollow, like trying to slander the sun while the whole sky is on fire. It doesn't work. Your evolution became the evidence they can't delete. Imagine this. They built a house of mirrors, hoping to reflect a distorted version of you. But then you became a lighthouse, and every time you shine, their reflection cracks. You didn't have to call them out. Life did it for you. The truth didn't need to scream. It just stood tall while their whispers drowned in your winds. They're not just embarrassed now, they're exposed, because the people who once believed them are starting to ask questions. Wait, I thought they said this person was unstable, weak, a mess. But here you are, thriving, glowing, evolving, and that alone makes their lies look stupid. That's the collapse. That's the humiliation. You became everything they said you'd never be, and now they have to live with that. They tried to assassinate your character, not realizing you were still growing into it. They aimed for your name, but your legacy dodged every bullet. And the irony? You never had to touch their reputation. Your existence did the demolition. Every smile, every success, every ounce of peace you now carry is a billboard that reads, "They were wrong about me." So no, you're not their destroyer. You're not the villain. You're the walking contradiction to every lie they ever told. And that's the one truth they'll never escape. Number 9. You didn't take the bait, so they choked on their own trap. They built a stage for your meltdown, and now they're performing alone in their own circus. They needed you to explode, to slip up, to lose control. That was the whole plan. The snide comments, the lies behind your back, the silent sabotage. It was all carefully designed to pull you into a scene where you'd look like the villain. But instead of taking the bait, you did something they never expected. You chose silence. You chose grace. You walked away from their chaos without giving them a single reaction to feed on. And that's what ended them. You didn't respond, and that silence was the loudest consequence they ever received. People like them don't just want to hurt you. They want you to hurt yourself trying to prove a point. They poke the wound, then hide their hands when you bleed. But you stopped bleeding for them. You stopped entertaining the drama. You stayed still, and that stillness flipped everything. Without your reaction, their strategy collapsed like a trap with no target. Now they're stuck in the very web they spun, squirming under the spotlight they turned on you. Imagine throwing bait into a calm ocean, expecting a shark, and getting dragged in by your own fishing line. That's what happened. They planned your fall like it was a script, but forgot that you'd already outgrown the role. You weren't moved by ego anymore. You were moved by clarity, and clarity doesn't chase noise. It watches noise burn itself out. You won by doing nothing, because nothing is exactly what they couldn't handle. You're not cold, you're calculating. You didn't avoid the fight out of fear. You avoided it because you knew it was beneath you. You knew what they were after. They weren't attacking you. They were attacking your peace, your presence, your power. But they underestimated your self-control. They thought they could lure you into self-destruction. And now they're the ones unraveling, while you continue to rise, untouched, unbothered, and untouchable. The real flex. You didn't have to destroy them. They did that all by themselves. Number 10. Your boundaries are brick walls, not suggestions. They didn't believe the door was locked until it broke their hand, trying to force it open. They thought your limits were just words, that your peace was something they could sneak past, guilt trip, or tear down with just the right mix of charm and chaos. But they were wrong, dead wrong, because what guards you now isn't emotion, it's rule, it's order. Its protection rooted so deep, not even their most manipulative tactics could shake it. They tried to test the gates, but your energy didn't flinch, and that's when the fear kicked in. You don't defend your peace anymore. Your peace defends you. Let's be real. You're not where you used to be. The version of you they abused, ignored, or underestimated is gone. You've built walls not out of bitterness, but out of wisdom. And those walls don't open to apologies. They don't lower for empty promises. Your protection isn't something they can negotiate with. It's not a maybe. It's not if they try hard enough. It's no, solid, unshakable, non-negotiable. They thought they could re-enter your space like nothing happened, but energy doesn't lie. And now they're standing outside, locked out of a kingdom they thought they could rule. You don't need to yell. You don't need to warn them. Your absence, your silence, your elevation, that is the announcement. They know now, your peace is guarded by something they can't manipulate. No scheme, no threat, no sweet-talking strategy can get past it. Your protection doesn't blink, it blocks. Imagine trying to pick a lock, only to find out there's no keyhole. That's what it feels like to them now. They can't find a crack, can't find a weakness, can't figure out how you became so untouchable. And the truth? You didn't become harder. You became smarter. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped overgiving. You stopped entertaining disrespect. And in doing that, you activated a defense system that's airtight. Now they know. You don't fight for protection. You are the protection, and they'll never dare try you again. Number 11. They can survive punishment, but exposure destroys them. They can take a hit, but they can't take being seen. People like them don't fear consequences, they fear clarity. They fear being known, because their whole life is a costume party, and you're the one flipping the lights on. They can handle judgment. They'll twist it, cry through it, even play the victim. But exposure is different. It doesn't give them space to lie. It doesn't offer them a defense. It just is raw, ugly, inescapable. They'd rather be hated than understood, because to be truly seen would destroy the illusion. You didn't go around trying to expose them. You didn't need to. Your life started to reveal them. Your growth made their excuses look pathetic. Your silence highlighted their noise. And your light. It burned straight through the mask they wore so well. Every time you walk in the room, they feel it. That pressure in their chest, that anxiety in their gut. Not because you're attacking, but because you're real. And everything about their image isn't. Imagine a shadow trying to outrun the sun. That's what it feels like for them now. They can't hide anymore. The truth isn't just circling them, it's leaking from them, in slips of the tongue, in panicked reactions. In the way they scramble to manage how others see them, now that you've shifted the energy. They're unraveling, and they know it. You didn't expose them with evidence. You exposed them by existing in truth. And that's what's killing them. Punishment? That ends. You serve time, take the hit, disappear for a while. But exposure, that's forever. It stains. It sticks to your name like smoke to fabric. And now they feel that stink. They know people are watching, wondering, piecing things together. And the more you rise, the more obvious their lies look in comparison. You're not their enemy, you never were, but now you've become the one thing they can't manipulate, a mirror. And that reflection, the one they've spent years avoiding, is staring them down with no filter, no mercy, and no escape. And it's eating them alive. Number 12. Their fear screams what you never had to say. You already won. If they really beat you, why are they still haunted by your silence? Let's tell the truth. If they truly conquered you, if they really buried you like they claimed, they'd be sleeping fine right now. But they're not. They're restless, anxious, jumpy, and that's all the evidence you'll ever need. Victory doesn't need a microphone when your absence is causing more damage than your presence ever did. You didn't lose. You ended the game without even swinging back. Fear is what lingers when the lie doesn't hold anymore. They thought the story ended with your silence, but they underestimated what silence means when it comes from someone who's evolved. While you moved on, they stayed stuck in the drama they created, waiting for the fallout that never came. Now they're pacing, waiting for karma, waiting for exposure, waiting for that final blow that never lands, but still hangs in the air like a storm that won't pass. You didn't have to prove your worth. You didn't have to broadcast your comeback. Their fear is your comeback. Every overreaction, every flinch, every time they hear your name and their chest tightens, that's your scoreboard lighting up. They lost the moment they realized you're not affected. But they are. You live rent-free in the mind of people who swore they moved on. They didn't just lose you. They lost control over the version of you they tried to destroy. Imagine walking away from a fire and the people who lit it are still standing in the smoke, coughing, wondering why the flames are growing. That's what this is. You're no longer even playing the same game, and they're still trying to rewrite rules that don't apply anymore. That's fear. That's guilt. That's the echo of you, ringing louder in your absence than it ever did when you were around. So no, you don't need to announce your win. You don't need to remind them. They're living in it. And every time they feel that fear in their chest, that's the universe whispering the truth. You already won. Number 13. Their past is chasing them, and you're not the one haunting them. They buried the knife, but the ground remembers where. They thought they could walk away clean, thought time would cover the tracks, thought silence meant escape, but time didn't save them, it exposed them. Because karma doesn't lose receipts, it doesn't forget names, and it never misses a return delivery. What they did to you, it's circling back like a shadow they can't outrun, and this time it's not you chasing them, it's consequence. You let go, but their guilt held on. Every lie they told, every time they twisted your truth, every smug moment they thought they'd won, it's echoing now in the quiet. You moved on, but the universe stayed behind, sweeping up every detail. And now, the same tactics they used to control, manipulate, and humiliate are turning on them. No external punishment, just their own guilt folding in like poison they drank themselves. They don't fear you. They fear what they see when no one's watching. Their own reflection, their own conscience. That sick feeling in their gut when they remember how they treated you. That's not paranoia. That's a haunting. Not of ghosts, but of truth. Because they know deep down they meant to hurt you. And the universe knows it too. They thought you were the target. Turns out, you were just the test. The test they failed. Now they live inside the very chaos they once aimed at you. Relationships crumbling, peace gone, fake smiles harder to hold, and they're wondering, why does everything feel off? But they already know. They just don't want to admit that they did this to themselves. You didn't curse them. You didn't chase revenge. You simply stepped back, and that's what activated the collapse. The weapons they once used with pride now sit like ticking bombs in their own hands, and every sleepless night, every anxious flashback, every random moment of dread, that's not coincidence. That's karma pulling up a chair and saying, let's talk about what you did to the chosen one. Number 14. They'll never cross that line again. You etched the warning into their soul. You didn't just leave a scar. You left a signature the universe refuses to let them forget. They thought they could circle back, try again, run the same play twice. But you weren't a chapter, you were a turning point, and their soul remembers. Not just what they did, but how it felt when it all backfired. That sick drop in their stomach, the paranoia, the silence that closed in on them like a locked room. That wasn't fear of punishment, that was the realization that they'd touched something they were never meant to touch. You. You didn't scream, you didn't fight, you just let the universe respond, and it responded with precision. The kind of consequence that doesn't make headlines, it makes history. Their nervous system flinches at the thought of you now. Not because you're violent, but because you're off limits. They've been branded by experience, marked by regret. And now you live in their mind like a fire alarm that never shuts off. Some lessons don't fade, they echo for a lifetime. Every time they try to lie to themselves that they were right, that you were weak, that none of it mattered, the fear slaps them back into reality. It's not external anymore. It's internal, biological, cellular, a built-in recoil whenever they even think about disrespecting your name again. That's the power of what you became. Not revenge, but a reminder, burned into their psyche with no expiration date. Imagine walking into a room and instantly feeling tension in your chest, like danger's near. That's what your memory does to them. You're not even there, and they still feel it. Because your presence was never just physical. It was energetic. And now it's carved into their instincts like a warning label from the universe. Do not try this soul again. You didn't just win. You rewired their brain to remember that you can't be crossed without consequence. You are untouchable. You are unshakable. And they're trembling. That's not weakness. That's recognition. Recognition that you were never the lesson. You were the line, and they'll never step near it again. And now you know, chosen one, the fear they carry is your silent victory. You didn't have to shout. You didn't have to chase. You became the consequence. Let them tremble. Let them remember. You're untouchable now. If this message hit home, press that like button if you haven't already. And if you're still not part of this powerful family, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because this is where the truth lives, and you belong here. Stay sharp, stay rising, and never forget. They'll never try you again. Not after what they felt.